Chris was slicing, cutting, drilling, and pulling, and Mike was squirting and sucking. That doesn't sound right.
Mm, mm, mm.
Welcome to Homemade. I'm Shannon Cason. I went to the dentist, not the dentist's office, but to the University of Illinois at Chicago's School of Dentistry Urgent Care Clinic. It's where the poor and uninsured can go and get dental care. And at that moment in time, I was both, and I had a toothache. It's where students, future dentists, can practice in your mouth. So it's like a beauty or a barber college, only it's your mouth. The way the process works, they don't take walk-ins. You have to call Monday through Friday between the times 8:30 and 9:30 for an appointment the following business day. I had Thursday off work, so I called Wednesday morning. And if you get through, you can see one of the student dentists the next day. If you don't, well, just endure the pain until the next time you can get through, where there's always whiskey and pliers. I started calling at 8:25, and I called a total of 129 times. I was so excited when someone answered. I felt like I had just won concert tickets. The next day, after several hours of registration, I was showed to a waiting area to wait a couple hours. There were rows and chairs in a big hallway, and chairs filled with broke uninsured college students, broke uninsured immigrant families, broke uninsured middle aged adults, and broke uninsured elderly people, all who share one common thread: a toothache. After a few more hours, a young man came out and called my name, Shannon Cason. I got up, walked over, shook his hand. Hello, Mr. Cason. My name is Mike. I doubted the formality was needed with my name if I wasn't calling him doctor, and I said just Shannon. Mike showed me to a dental chair in a large room full of other dental chairs and small cubicles, many of them filled with people who I just saw in the waiting area, all laying on their backs with their mouths opened and their butts clenched. At our chair, Mike introduced me to another smiling kid. The kid said, Hello, Mr. Cason. I'm Chris. I'll be performing your extraction, and Mike here will be assisting. I shook his hand and smiled, Thanks, just Shannon. I sat in the chair as Chris and Mike studied my x rays. I overheard them discussing how the roots of my tooth were long and twisted, and it wasn't going to be a simple pull. They used words like mesial and distal, and how they would need to drill it in pieces to remove it. Then I tried not to listen anymore. As a writer, words are very visual to me. I can handle the drill, but I don't want to hear about the slicing, cutting, drilling, and pulling, referring to work to be done inside my mouth. I'd rather it just be done without my literal knowledge. Then Chris turned to me and said, Mr. Shannon, we're going to extract your tooth because it's not salvageable. And if you look here on the x-ray, it has deep roots. And if you see here, the roots are twisted in a way that we're going to have to slice the tooth into sections by drilling it in half and cutting away some of the bone. A man in a white coat walked into the cube. He introduced himself as Dr. Parsons. Finally, Chris explained to the doctor for a third time in my earshot how he was going to slice, drill, cut, and then pull. And the doctor affirmed it: slice, drill, cut, and then pull. And the doctor turned to me and asked if they had explained the procedure. I nodded vigorously. Okay, while I'm nodding vigorously, it brings to mind a new habit that I've incorporated into my daily routine to maintain my focus. I'm going to take a break from the story to tell you about it. It's called mental wealth, investing in your mind. Mental wealth is sleep, diet, exercise, stress management, and whatever healthy boost you can take to incorporate. And recently, I've been using Magic Mind performance shots. I get Magic Mind in a month's supply right at my doorstep so I can easily incorporate the performance shots into my daily routine. I'm gonna drink one right now. You hear the little click? Tastes pretty good too. I've been using Magic Mind performance shots as part of my morning writing routine, and it's made a noticeable difference in my focus. And at night, I take the sleep shots and they help me wind down. Sleep is important to mental focus too. So if you want to build up your mental wealth like me, try out Magic Mind. Right now, on your first order, you get the 24-hour pack, the performance and the sleep shots bundled at 45% off with my code. It's a good deal to start the process. Just use my code magicmind.com/homemade JAN. That's magicmind.com/homemade JAN. Okay, back to the dentist. Then something happened, and Chris asked Mike if he was ready. Mike seemed to get nervous and said, yeah, like he really wasn't ready for whatever it is he was going to do. My internal dialogue got in on the conversation saying, maybe Mike isn't ready, Chris. Chris ignored my thought, looked up, and called the doctor back, who had walked away to check on other student doctors. Mike walked to the table with the insuredness and lack of confidence that made me more nervous than I already was sitting in a dentist chair at a school for dentistry. The doctor returned and Mike fiddled on the table and picked up a long cotton swab. And the doctor said, "What's that?" And Mike said it was the topical numbing gel. And the doctor quickly dismissed it, saying, "I don't use that in my office. He's a big boy. Pat me on the shoulder. It's just going to be a little pinch." My internal dialogue was trying to explain to the doctor that I didn't want to prove my grit in a dentist chair. I opened my mouth. It's unsettling to be in a dentist chair while my internal dialogue is cheering on some kid with a needle in my mouth. You can do it, man. You got this, Mike. And he did it. It was just a little pinch. For the actual procedure, here's the setup. Chris with the drill and knife, and Mike with the water pick and suction tube, the doctor bouncing in and out of the cubicle to check on other students, and me with my mouth open and my ass clenched. They got started. Chris was slicing, cutting, drilling, and pulling, and Mike was squirting and sucking. That doesn't sound right. But Mike still seemed nervous. At one point, he put the suction tube too far down on the top of my tongue and caused me to gag. He apologized, and I said, "Gag, gag, gag." He removed all the tubes, and I repeated, "Now I know how she feels." He got the biggest laugh from that, and it loosened him up some. Then Chris was having trouble with the pulling part. Dr. Parsons came over to give it a try. No go. He instructed Chris, slice, cut, and drill a little more. And Chris did it and it still wouldn't give. The doctor tried again. My tooth root was twisted in some Chinese origami brain tease puzzle that Chris and the doctor couldn't figure out. Then Mike woke up from all the squirting and sucking and said, maybe if you pull it that way. Eureka. It came out. It took him a long time to get that tooth out. I spent most of the day at the UIC School of Dentistry. When I was walking out, all the cubicles were empty. All the student doctors had gathered their coats to leave. The waiting area was just rows of empty chairs. And I waited on the pink line platform for the train. And I saw Mike coming up the steps to wait also. I said, "Thanks, Mike." He said, "Shannon, you were a great patient." I asked him if it was his first time, giving the needle. He said no, he had done it a bunch of times with the dummies, but it was his first time with a real human head. I told him no, next time would be his first time, but he did really well on his last dummy.
Mm, mm, mm. Now that's homemade.